Hello friends, welcome back to the teaching strategies for children with specific learning difficulties or dyslexia. I am Vilasini Divakar. Having done the reading segment, we are now getting into the spelling area of the child's learning process. Now spelling is a very important skill area for the child. Good spelling reveals the confidence level of the child, the knowledge level of the child, and is a very important segment in the writing process. Of course, today we can use technology to help us with the spelling, but even then one would require to know the spelling to use it effectively. What is done in class? Spelling is generally not taught in class. Most often children are given difficult words put up on the board and made them to learn to come back for a dictation next day. Isn't that how we all learned spelling? In our own lives, most of us learned spelling by repeatedly saying the word aloud. Most of the time, we also write it several times. Basically, what we are doing is we are encouraging the rote memory of the child, and we learnt it like that. If children without any difficulties, probably that might still work today. But children who have difficulty in learning, they are not going to learn that way. What they are going to do is they are going to learn if we teach the spellings in a multi-sensory method, and that is what we are going to see in this spelling segment. Now, let us take a look at the slide that you are seeing. Take a minute or two to read it if you can. I am sure all of us will be able to read it, and the reason why we can do that is because we have a knowledge bank of vocabulary already in our brains. This knowledge bank helps us to recognize these words even though they are spelt wrong. If you see, there are letters in the word, there are sequences in which the letters have been put, but it is not the right sequence. So, what is spelling then? We say that this words in this passage is spelt wrong because we know that it looks wrong. Oh, just by the way, this passage was written by a very famous dyslexic. So, we are able to visually see that the words are spelt wrong in this passage, and we know that we can understand the word because we have the vocabulary in our heads. This comes and leads us to the fact that there is a definition for spelling. So, let us now see what is the definition for spelling. Formation of words with a traditional arrangement of letters. In the passage that we saw previously, we realized that though he had the right sentiments to express, he had the knowledge to express, unfortunately because his words were spelt wrong, it looked as if this was written by an amateur child who has just started to write. Spelling has to follow certain rules, certain regulations. There must be an accepted pattern to spell. That accepted pattern is set as a traditional list. We have to have words and letters in the right sequence. What happens if it does not come in the right sequence? Let us take a look at the next slide. Yes, once again we have a passage here where the spelling is not right, but if you look closely, you will find that the first and the last letter of every word is correct. Now, there is studies to back up this theory that if the first and the last letters are correct, you can most probably 99% make out the word that is there. Agreed, yes, we can make out, but we still have got a very bad impression of the person who has written this. We feel that this person does not have the knowledge of English to write, even though the word sounds correct. So, let us take one look at one word that is there in this passage, which is spelt wrong, but we know what is the right word. For instance, the word first. Now, in the sentence, the only important thing is that the first and the last letter be in the right place. First is spelled wrong, it is spelled as frist. So, the child obviously has known the first letter and the last letter, but does not know the sequence of letter in between. So, this goes against our definition of spelling, which is the traditional arrangement of letters. Even though we might spell the word phonetically, if the spelling is not right, he would still be marked wrong in his papers. Today, we evaluate the knowledge of the child by written exams, and in the written exams, if he has a spelling wrong, he loses out on the marks. But he knows what he has written, and probably he has written it phonetically, but that is not acceptable for us when we are correcting his papers. So, this child needs to be taught. Now, spelling is a difficult skill area. Not everyone can become masters in spelling. We have seen that reading is a decoding activity and spelling is an encoding activity. What do we mean by decoding? Decoding is an area where we have the visual symbols and all we need to do is to embed it with the sounds. Whereas in encoding, it is just the opposite. We hear the sounds first and we need to map it to the symbols that we have. Now, that is definitely more difficult because the child's auditory processing can take time, and especially for a dyslexic child, he will find it difficult if he has not mastered the sounds. So, spelling can be taught, there are rules, there are regulations, and there is a system and structure. A child with specific learning difficulties learns so much better when there is structure and when there is a system. So, let us set forth and try to teach this child spelling.